Hey everyone, happy Wednesday to you. It's great to have you as usual, the weekly briefing. I have to say, Vasil, it's so funny. Like, I swear you and I have sat in multiple seats over multiple years together. But what people don't might not know is that you are quite literally the very first RevThink client, official client, I should say. I was doing some freelance problem solving for people, and then you guys had called me. That's like 20 something years, almost 20 years ago that we did that. So everyone owes you a little bit of thank you for like, launching my career in this whole process.
Well, you're welcome, Tim. You're welcome.
The
We wouldn't have,
RevThink client of 20 years now.
yeah. I wish it was ongoing for all 20 years. That would be a good thing. But you and I, we stay connected, so that's pretty sweet.
Absolutely.
Hey, okay, so I do have I want to get to the big picture conversation in a second, but I just have some basic questions. So I'll put you to the test. Maybe Veronica can jump in, or this could be like a game show. We'll see how good you are at answering the questions, and she can buzz you in if you get it wrong or whatever. Um, but when I was talking to you yesterday, you threw out some words that I don't really understand. So can I just get some clarity in what that might be?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we start from there.
Okay, so the first thing you said, so you talked about yesterday about having a base and a LoRa. And I don't really know how the LoRa works with the base. I have a pretty good understanding what a base is, but how do those two things relate? And then what happens, or how do you build those items?
Yeah, so LoRa's is actually what has got really interested in AI, the ability for us to modify a small model and put that on top of a larger base model. And the train process is what really fascinated us. And we started about a year and a half, 2 years ago. So there's a base model that comes from some of the bigger developers like Google or Meta or Black Forest Labs. But there's also LoRa's lower rank adaptation models that you can train on images or data, and then you can combine them together where you get more control over the base model. So if you want to have a very specific face or a specific product or more of a specific car, you would use a LoRa, a trained LoRa, to then plug it into a base model, and that way your renders are getting a lot more accurate. Now there's many ways to train LoRa's. Some people are really good at it. Some people are not that great at it. Some LoRa's are automatically provided to you by certain sites, but it really was kind of like the entryway for us to understand how to modify and work with AI models and what we can do.
Okay, so it seems like one is what you're saying is if there's a LoRa involved in the process, that's at a level where customary motion design production companies, design companies, they would have some influence over that. They would contribute to and build that. That's where we would belong in the LoRa. The base models of the gigantic tech companies, we're not touching those bases, right? So okay, that's
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
and so if I were, is it safe to say if I'm working with a brand, I could develop a LoRa around that brand for a season or for a look or whatever, and then that would allow me to make future decisions.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is what a lot of I would say companies that are kind of like us or in the middle try to do is create consistent LoRa's that give you consistent results over a look or a product or a certain data parameters that you want it to be answering correctly. So yes, that is what the holy grail is, to create little LoRa's and then connect multiple LoRa's together and then drive that base model to give you more predictable results.
Okay, cool. And then you're using Comfy, which my understanding again is like that's a node-based processor, but that's running multiple different renders, right? So Comfy in itself is more of a, is it like a calling technology? It's doing certain tasks and then grabbing them and recompiling them.
Yeah, so Comfy is like a user interface where you can connect different programs together, especially AI programs. And then this way you can string them together, uh, maybe connect LLMs in there as well so that you're getting more predictable results of what you want the system to do. This way, you're making your own little AI workflow. And sometimes it could be just as simple as one model. It could be as big as 10 or 15 different models connected together and talking to each other. So this is really where you can test out your theories of what you want to do, whether you want to create an image generator or you want to create adaptive resizing, you want to create a very accurate car render. Comfy is really the best way for you to go, especially smaller companies like us, to test out your theories and to prove a product, whether product is viable or not.
Okay, so you threw two words out there that I swear, when someone uses it, I think I know what it means, but they also feel like they're interchangeable. And one is, I feel like people use the term AI to mean something, but I swear they mean something specific. So if we were talking in like the finance space and used AI, you mean something very different than in the image generation space, which is what we're in. So we often use AI as a catch-all phrase, but then you also use the term model. Is model the right actual like small thing? So like image generation is a model compared to text generation or finance components or legal things or whatever.
I mean, it is a very loose term from what we understand, even though there's a base model, something like Flux, which was a true model, which was trained on billions of images. When we take that base model, we connect our own LoRa model, which is a smaller model, together and create a workflow out of multiple different models. We still refer to as our model, for example, because it is still a model of multiple models. So there's a lot of modeling going on in the business. Yeah.
Well, so if I were to productize something, could I productize a model? Like, could I build a model and then work with a client and say, I'll build this model for you, or I'll build a model and you can work with it? Is that the right terminology? Is that the right place to?
I mean, technically no, because maybe if you're talking about a model, maybe you're referring to a base model, which has billions of parameters and billions of images. So maybe the correct term would be workflow. You're creating an AI workflow and then using multiple models strung together to give you the results that you want.
Okay. And then I'm just getting through the basics. So when you start giving me the real answers to the questions I have in about 2 minutes, and you start throwing these words out, I want everyone to kind of be on the same page. But sometimes you've thrown out things to me of like, well, then a new model comes out and it changes things. So that would mean the base models had a release of some sort and that changed something, or somebody else developed a different kind of model that plugged together and that has a new capability we didn't have before.
So yes and yes. So sometimes a new base model comes out like Nano Banana, that's huge, that took Google to develop. But then you might find an enthusiast that comes out with a smaller model that connects to a larger model. That's also called a model, to give you specific tasks. So they're all just different AI programs.
Okay.
And they're all called models. So it is a little bit confusing.
It's like an interchange for program. And
yes.
And context is what kind of tells you which model. Okay. The last one is container. I actually don't know where container. I know it's at the end process, but I don't know when you say container, how that snaps something together.
So for example, you want to create a very accurate render of a product and you strung together multiple models in Comfy UI. Now you want an average user to be able to access that model who doesn't know Comfy UI. So you would take your Comfy workflow and you package it into a container, which then goes onto a site or a cloud, something like RunPod, that is connected to a cloud GPU. And then that container is connected to a cloud GPU. And now you can connect that container to a UI UX interface in the form of a website, and you can give it to a user to now be able to interact with your strung up AI models in Comfy that you've made. And the packaging process does involve some know-how because there is a trial error process. You have to make sure that the GPUs are running properly. There's no lag time. You have to optimize those things together. So that is also an important portion of what we do is getting that container collected correctly and uploaded onto a web GPU is also a process that needs to be understood and learned.
So again, if I were productizing in this world, I could productize or understand that, hey, I could build you a container, or I could put a container together, put that up there for you, and then you could, end user could use it. And it
Yes.
sounds like the container element is something that could be maintained on as a service provider, and the end user is doing something else. So there's a constant relationship. Feels a little bit like web developers, where like you have your web developer, you have a backend interface, but that's things change and things evolve, and that developer will always kind of touch it. That's where that interchange would take place. Is you can buy,
So
sell, trade.
yeah, so actually you would need a team of a web developer team, a programming team, someone that understands AI and Comfy, and more of like a UI UX designer working together to really upload everything and make sure it's running correctly. So there is web development that's involved as well, especially
So it's a little bit
programming.
more of a like SaaS in a way, right? Like it's really more touching
Sure,
that level.
sure.
Okay, cool.
Sure,
Okay,
SaaS that's that involves packaging AI together into a cloud GPU.
cool. Okay, thanks for covering the bases, because I know those things have sat out there, and I actually knew some of the answers, but at least I want to ask the questions so that we everyone's on the same page as we're doing this. So here's the reason we were getting together is that you guys at Vantage, well, one, I should say the reason you and I know each other was actually you were a motion designer, or you were one of the founders of Roger, so you kind of really understand the promo space, the motion design space. You had to deliver commercials, you had to deliver graphics like everybody else, live action, that kind of stuff. There's nothing you didn't touch necessarily. And you guys still do that today. That's one of the principal things you guys do. But you've earlier than others kind of got into the AI space and had some curiosity driving a new kind of motivation moving forward. And it seems like you've evolved it to where now you are really at an exchange where people pay you to make AI product, you do implementation or whatever. So it feels like there's like an entrepreneurial evolution that took place. And that's what I find that fascinating, because I think a lot of people want to or know they have to kind of move in this direction and don't know where to start. So let's just start there. Like where was the beginning of your like, hey, let's try an AI tool to make something happen? Where was the first step off for you?
Yeah, I think it was fear.
Total
So
reaction.
it was like, oh my God, this is terrifying. I think it was also when Dennis, my business partner here, started learning Comfy and we were sitting together. We realized, my God, this is how all these platforms and apps that are popping up right now were first started, most likely. They're started with SDXL, which is an open source model that somebody modified, upgraded, and then put onto a site, and it became a hit. So like, what can we do? We don't have access to billions of dollars to make our own models, but let's try to see if we can get an accurate product render and show that to people. So that was our first kind of step, was to create an accurate, I think it was a Coke bottle. No, accurate car renter was the first one that we did. And we were just so excited about it because it kind of looked like the car, It was still not 100% accurate, no, nowhere near, but we're just super excited that, oh my God, you can train it, you can control it with a prompt, you can put it on a private site. That just blew our minds. And we were just very, very excited. I remember running to a couple of ad agencies and like showing them this is possible. And they're like, what do you want from us? We don't know what this is. Go away. So that I think that started the process of everything. Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, but you weren't actually trying to solve like a pipeline problem at that point, or workflow problem at that point, where there was a resize issue, or you couldn't do a live action shoot, so you experimented, or you had a timeline issue you're trying to
Yeah,
short.
no, not at the time. I think we just I remember opening up Civet AI like what 2 years ago or something. We're like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. And then we're seeing trained Laura's. We're like, we need to figure out how to make this and sell it, you know? But then at that time, it was just kind of like anime girls, and that's it. We're like, well, let's try to train a car. Let's see what we can do. So that was the start of the process. But we just picked our own problem. Like, let's figure out how we can make a product more accurate than what base models are giving us. And we were definitely achieving very good results, and we still are achieving way better results than you would get from, say, a base model that you're plugging into. Um, for production, some things as complex as a car is almost ready. Actually, we're starting a job right now with an AI car being involved for a major client. But it definitely took a long time to figure out the technology and get it to do what you want to do, because it kind of gives you good results and then it lies to you and then it's all falling apart. Your container is not working, your site's super slow. You're like, oh my God, why did I waste all this time on this? This is a disaster. So it was definitely a freak out moments that were happening the whole time.
By the way, that's been true for every technological evolution, isn't it? Like you get
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
machine in. We used to just spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on an SGI computer to run it, and then it'd still have the same failure points no matter what. Whenever the deadline is, it fails right before the deadline. Doesn't matter what
Yeah.
the technology is or when the deadline is. Okay, so and you kind of said it you in the last answer, but like you picked a problem, and you kind of were giving me the sense of like, Tim, this is actually where the entrepreneurial engine starts. Is you kind of just focus on one problem and start working it, right?
Yes, whatever interests you or a problem that maybe someone else has. I mean, we're trying to also solve problems for our friends. There's also like one network that's coming to us, and they're like, "Oh, we have a formatting problem, but we saw that you guys do this. You have more control than other people over AI models. Can you help us?" And surprisingly enough, that was very doable, way easier than, say, getting a super realistic Coke can with the right typography rendered. So it was surprising that it was completely something we didn't even think people had as a problem. But since we were working in the space, others started coming to us and asking us for help. And I think that's where we're at now.
Well, how do you balance out the problem that you're choosing to solve right now and the fact that I don't know if the right word is competition or whatever, but like there's a lot of people solving that same problem, and you can invest a lot of time and energy into something, and then tomorrow there's a release of some sort, and you're like, well, that was a waste, and it was supposed to be the differentiator, you and
Right,
everybody else, and
right.
now everyone's equal because they could just jump on the same website and get the same results.
Sure. Well, I think what like Sam Altman was saying that, oh, don't, if you're working on a product that's making our model incrementally better, you're totally wasting your time, you know? He's probably right, and maybe our car renders will be eventually overtaken by big base models. But during the process, you learn so much. You learn what coffee is, you learn how to handle it, you learn how to package containers. You get a different group of skills and a different group of programmers and designers that are now in this space. It's a complete ecosystem that you're building around you uh, just by doing the process. Even though that product render that you're working on is now invalidated by ChatGPT's latest update, you're still figured out what you can do in this space, and then potentially solve somebody's other issue that the big base model is not solving.
So to some degree, your encouragement now is probably a lesson that's always been true, is that your assets are your people, and what you invest
Yes.
in your time and your team and your workflow, regardless of what problem they're solving, you can depend on them to get something done.
Yeah,
How,
absolutely.
but there's probably some discouragement management, right? There are some team members that feel like they've just wasted a year of their time, and now you have to be the one dragging them and moving them forward.
That's every week, actually. So the assets is your people, you're right, Tim, because what you quickly learn by doing experiments is there's a lot of like, I mean, straight up fraudsters out there. We had some trainers that are charging they're promising the world for us, and then we get results. We're like, dude, you just uploaded this to, a site that we used 5 minutes ago, and you're asking for $1,000. No, this is
Yeah.
ridiculous. But you said you're going to be doing all this stuff to it, and then you're going to get amazing results. So there's a lot of that as well. But again, the process, you want to weed out who actually knows what the heck they're doing, or whose strength you want to use versus who's is good at something else, more creative versus more programming, more dev versus, more of aesthetics. So that is the process.
If I were to make a promise to a client, though, right? What kind of promise am I really making when it comes to AI? I will say, like, I think a lot of people even hesitate to put anything forward and be honest with their client or take a risk and use something, because it doesn't seem like I really can predict what's going to come out of this machine. So just avoid it for now. But so maybe the first one is like, is avoiding it a good strategy at the moment until it catches up to everyday user?
So excellent question, Tim. So how do you start using this thing, or what do you promise to a client? We never want to promise to a client that, hey, we'll solve everything for you, give us $200,000. That's not the conversation anybody is willing to even engage in. What we do is tell us your problem, and then we'll do some R&D research for you to see how feasible it is to solve your problem, and find out, give you a full report, what we're able to do with the current technology, what's possible in the coming months. So this way, you're not over promising. You're saying, hey, client, I'm going to go on a journey with you, and I'm give you the best answers to find the best solution for you, whether it's us that are putting together a container for you, or it's something that's off the shelf already, that you can just start using. And I think building that trust with the client is the most important part.
The Somebody threw out a term, I can't remember what it was, but they said the best thing you can do with AI is clarify, not fantasize. So it's this idea of like, hey, this is what it does, this is how it works, here's how we're going to use it. But don't just imagine everything as possible there. And the way I think of it is like, in an alphabet, it can't do A to Z, it might just do K through N, and then
Yep.
eventually add more wings to it. But you have to be okay with and want to process and make sure it's worthwhile to do that stretch of it.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
The and then I the let's just talk about, like, how do you roll out something to a client? So you don't have to drop brands or anything, but I know that you're working with some larger brands in this process. Are they now seeing you as a tech expert? Do they still see you as the creative company that you were using technology as a partner? Or do they see you as a totally different service provider they've never had before?
I think something in between, like a totally different service provider. I think it's all about the relationship you have with these people, and some of these people we've known for years. So there's an element of trust, that that we've had, where they trust us to tell them the right answer and to be honest with what's going on. Um, and I think that's really what's driving a lot of the decisions that they're making to go with us, because everybody's kind of screaming and putting beautiful stuff, but and promising the world. But we're trying to say, hey, let's do the R&D work together. We'll show you what's possible, and then you can make an educated decision whether you want to move forward with building this or not.
Yeah, and then they understand the investment with you, but there's a long-term gain for them if it can be figured out, right? I feel like a lot of the clients that I'm aware of that are willing to engage in we'll call it like a service provider, whatever. I don't know where to really put you in as a category yet, but in this thought of like, you're going to come alongside them and plug something in and make it work. They also understand that they're early adopters, but they're going to gain from a skill or a pipeline or something like that, and they just want to learn sooner than later. And that win-win is something that you could propose to them. Hey, let's both go down this venture together and see what's possible. And today, like there's a lot of grace and forgiveness of like if you make something with AI, people know it, but they're also fascinated by it. In 10 years, we're not going to have the same fascination.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about it, say like an executive at an ad agency or a TV network, they're so far removed from the development or a developer or a programmer that it's really hard for them to understand what is going on. Where is the truth? What is really happening? So if you're able to really show someone at that high level that maybe came from motion graphics and came from design, like, hey, this is how it works, explain the technology, show the node system, go through the workflow step by step, and educate them. Now they're way ahead of the other executives that are competing for the resources at that company or with them. So they feel like, okay, I have this knowledge. Now I could go ahead and speak with confidence. I can show some dev that I'm working on to my colleagues. I feel more secure about my job, and I feel like I'm pushing the company forward and evolving the brand. So that's really not only is it just say giving them an exact product that's what it wants, it's also educating that person, giving them more confidence to speak about the problem that they want to solve with AI with confidence and show them some tests and results within the company. And they become heroes right away. So that's what I also want to do for those people.
Yeah, that's cool. The filter I've said in the past is, people go for two targets, either preservation or promotion, right? Some people want to just sustain things as is. They're at the top of their game. They're not willing to take risks, and they'll go to the comfortable big client people because it's not their fault if something happens, kind of like all preservation. But in the promotion stage where someone's making a mark, trying to move themselves forward, trying to be recognized differently, you find a partner like that, they're the ones willing to dive in and try something new. They're willing to take the risk because it allowed them to advance in their situation. So there's a little bit of a filter when you think about which client you're going to do for. Are they in preservation mode or promotion mode, and know which one to kind of lean on. I actually I would love to hear more from other people here too. I'm curious if anybody has just a very common task that they do every single day, and they know that AI is doing it or eventually do that, and would be willing to kind of process that. Because I think when we put our entrepreneurial hats on, and it's that formula, needs plus resources equal solution, identifying that need is the very first place to start, as you point out, Vasil. And then the resources, that's what's evolving nowadays. And your team becomes more of the resource than the technology itself. And then we're going to find solutions. So in that curiosity of finding new entrepreneurial solutions. Yeah, go ahead, Hung. Let's hear what you got going on.
Thanks, Tim. My question is a little bit different than what you asked, Tim, but we use AI throughout the production every day. But I have a question about the use of Comfy UI. Like, why do you choose to use that versus something like Krea AI, which is, I think, like a wrapper, right? Is there any advantage to using Comfy UI over that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have way, way, way more models and options that you can do. You have way more controls. You can have multiple LoRa's. There's just a lot more that you can do than with Crea. Crea is there's like three things that are plugged in together, and that's it. With Comfy, you can really explore all kinds of tools. So I wouldn't call it a wrapper for Comfy. I would say it's maybe a wrapper for a couple models, but not for Comfy.
Gotcha. Yeah, and follow-up question is, did you do workshops? Because I would love to get my team up to speed quickly, you know what I'm saying? Versus like having someone learning from scratch. So there you go.
We don't do workshops, but we can maybe recommend a couple of people that 2 years ago we started learning with that could help you guys at least get started. You have to be careful though of who you're gonna throw on this Comfy UI journey because it's not for everyone. It really does require very technical and creative mind, someone like a VFX supervisor that's super technical, but has a creative side and is willing to sit there and just tweak nodes left and right for hours and hours and hours to get the feeling, because there's not a manual to all this stuff. It's really you just have to be obsessed with tweaking all the parameters until you figure out, oh, okay, I got something now. I have a feeling of if I plug in this node and then get this model and this model, I'm getting the result that I want.
So that is this a new profession or is
Yeah,
it an evolution of
absolutely.
a profession? Oh, it is. Yeah.
I would say a new profession. We've had even VFX artists that are really good go in there and they just get lost. We had programmers and IT guys that are really good go in there and get lost. So it's definitely a special kind of person that just is easy to take onto this type of format and is able to control it and work with it. Now, simple things, you know, you can do some simple things in it. If it's getting complex where you're trying to render perfect typography on a bottle, you better, get someone that's willing to really sit there for months to understand how it all works inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm that type of person. Like Creo doesn't intimidate me, but Comfy UI would. Like it's just too overwhelming, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Cray again is a wrapper for models, I would say, and Comfy is what you're able to then create your own workflows with. And there's similar tools like was it Waverly has a node-based system that's a little bit easier to learn, but it's lacking controls because some of the tests that we've done, especially with adaptation, you still need like a level of Python control, I would say, that you're able to program things, you're able to build your own nodes with a programmer. That's you would never find like in Crea or other platforms. So it's completely open for you to just start building your own stuff.
Monsieur, thanks, Monsieur, another question. Speaker. Um, you said you don't do workshops, but what you do for companies or with companies is do some implementation for their workflows, right? So if there was a company or a brand or whatever that was looking to systematize some of their outputs or create something with a larger brand, that's where you're like, yeah, you would come in and kind of be the programmer for them. And I'm going to use this term, build a container that they can start working with.
Yeah, absolutely. That I think is where we're heading now, even though we're still doing traditional motion graphics and doing 3D renders for cars. Um, we are getting really excited about that path because it's new. It requires R&D constantly on every project, and we definitely see that as the future, where companies will be paying for their own AI pipelines that are built on their own custom sites. Could be completely different. Maybe Gemini comes in and solves everything. But for us, we see that as an opportunity where you can take multiple models, multiple nodes, LLMs, VLMs, large image models, string them together to get something useful that solves a problem, and then build a wrapper, a site around that, and then give that to a client where all they have to do is either send an image or type a simple request and get a predictable result.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna guess that we're gonna be seeing like WYSIWYG kind of interfaces within the next 5 years. So even the idea of prompting or kind of building some backend pieces to it, like most software evolutions, there's some progress that one or two pieces of software make that kind of dumb down the rest of output because everyone kind of decides, well, these are the 2 or 3 we're going to use, and all they do is these 1,000 different types of outputs. Everything's going to fit within these 1,000 parameters. Opposed to today, it feels like there's infinite parameters because we're kind of in the building the engine itself, opposed to just using the user interface. At least that's what it feels like. It feels like the square spaces of website building kind of like has simplified website building, but that everyone kind of gets the same, 17 packages or whatever. I'm going to give you some things that people are talking about that they know that AI could eventually accelerate. So like roto tracking, resizing, motion capture, like removing logos, kind of clean up that kind of stuff. Um, those are good places to start, right? When you say choose your one problem, those are places that a company today would go like, yeah, like go solve that tracking problem for your company and get your team moving forward with how these machines kind of go together. Even though there might be a product out there, if you can make your own version, why not try and see how gifted you are in that field?
Potentially, yes. You also have to be aware that a lot of these like roto and tracking things will probably be included in Photoshop or After Effects, right? Maybe a good place to start is looking at like chats that are for comfy UI people or artists, and there's always new models or new workflows coming out where people are just creating something new, and you're like, oh my God, this is cool. We can use something like that for this. So that's where ideas start to spark. Um, but roto and tracking, I don't know if, yeah, you could use it for that as well. It just, I feel like maybe there's going to be like plugins already that are pretty good for that, but
Are you looking at Dennis?
not really. Maybe you do start with roto tracking. I don't
Yeah,
know. So I would say maybe, I mean, what really excites me right now is what we're doing for a client, and how you have a traditionally you have a TV network and you have a brand style guide for that network. Like that should be all uh, a live UI UX site that you can load in artwork in there, generate artwork that is already on brand, that spits out the right sizes, right creative, that someone that worked with a designer, creative director, and a producer to create for you. It's a living style guide. It's not just a PDF that you're like, oh, is this right? No, it's a thing that you're interacting with. And I feel like that is where the power of this thing is really going to come into full force. And we're building pieces of that right now.
Yeah, it feels like even this list and where most people imagine these tools going is in post production. But to some degree, there is post production even, where once post production is done, it's handed off to another series of service providers that then
Yeah.
localize it, translate it, recomposite it, and there's a whole even after
Yeah.
that fact, and
Yeah.
that for sure is as we recognize as commoditized. Like there's no strategy, there's no creative engine behind it. It's all really just set, and you're simply interpreting it to a different format. As it gets to post production, it feels like it could be a little bit more disruptive to the creative process because it might determine some output because it's in the post. The question I want to know is like, forget all the post part. What about the pre part, the strategy, the visualizing, the designing, and that kind of stuff? I know people are looking at it for concepting, and that's where it feels like the clients are most resistant right now, letting you conceptualize something. They don't know what the origins are or the sources. There's this lawsuit kind of fear factor that's out there or whatever, and they'll let you get to storyboard level, but then you better be able to rebuild that by hand or make some
Right. Right.
individualized version of it.
Yeah, there's definitely still a barrier for that, because if it's made with AI, okay, was the model approved by the big corporation to be used? So we've made some things that are involved, like a Coke bottle or can. I remember we had a call with Pepsi, and they're like, "This is amazing, we want this," and they're like, this lady comes on the phone, "What model are you using?" "It's not Firefly," or boom, nothing. So it has to be approved by them, and usually it's a model that's very limited. It's anything from Adobe, like Firefly, is very limiting. That's probably going to change, because there's no way that you're going to say keep that from flooding the market when China and other companies or the world or other countries are just using whatever they want. But also AI is not necessarily have to be about image generation. It could be about organization and adaptation as well, and other problems that are not necessarily involve any legal ramifications that you might run into. They're working under the scenes to get you the results that you're interested in or that you want. Yeah.
Okay, so if I were to kind of summarize some of the the direction that you've taken us today is, when you're thinking about doing something with a client, putting yourself out there. I'll say this again, but clarify, not fantasize, right? Like, it's really important to be really clear what you're doing, making sure the client understands what you're doing, and actually almost be proud of it, recognize it as a value prop, not like a quick fix or short end. You're opening them up to new possibilities, not just cleaning up some of the old stuff. So that's what we're looking for, is just clarity and understanding and getting them plugged in that way. It also seems like you're saying one of the greatest assets you can get out of this might not be the output, so the final image or the type of render or whatever, because that a model can come, or the model you're depending on can change in such a way that you can't really repeat that again. But the system or the routines, the team that you built, that's the asset that you're actually building when it comes to the business part of it. And then in the productizing, I think one of the challenges, and we didn't really get to this, but I think that you have to think of is, if you're going to productize it, you have to think of what that value is and what the pricing is. And I feel that if people are running towards the commodity price, like, I can make it all the cheapest, you're just going to bury yourself into the wrong problem that's here, where like there are potentials of, opening up the world to new, like, future ways.
So that's exactly it. As far as pricing is, if you're trying to say, I'm going to do it faster in AI versus 3D, then you're kind of solving a problem. You are solving a problem, but you're competing against anybody that's pushing a button, right? So we're trying to avoid that space, even though we still try to do as much as we can with creative. What our goal is to create a design system that combines multiple pushing of buttons in the right order that then gives client the most value. So we're not saying we're just going to make it cheaper for you. We're going to do something different for you. We're going to make a design system for you, as opposed to just cheaper, because that leads down the wrong path, obviously.
It's funny how fast we want to say fast equals cheaper. But I'll tell you, like, I pay extra to go through the airports faster. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to wait, and I will pay more for the premium experience of not standing in those lines. But it's funny how we want to convert that to, like, no, if I could do it faster, I'll pass that savings on to you and not capture the value difference. I think that's where many of us are going to kind of have to wrestle a little bit of, like, what's the language around that positioning that says, of course, we're going to use AI to do this. The possibilities are greater because we did it, and we can do it sooner, which is a savings of time onto you. Therefore, you owe us more money to get the fast pass.
Or new possibilities as well, right? Like, what is now possible for you, client, is new ways of doing things that will make you look like a hero in your company and advance your brand. So here you go. Let's work together. I'm not just trying to make something faster and cheaper for you, which is probably the wrong conversation.
That's the term I've been using: future native content or future native experience. Like, because of this, there'll be a native way to that platform. We can't yet experience it right now. We're just comparing what we're doing now and can it do what we're doing now better, but we don't know what it's going to be able to do.
Exactly. And you want to get ready, because there might be an ask that's coming from left field that nobody even saw, but boom, you already have your team. They know how to package everything. They know how to create sites. They know how to make models. They can create a UI UX around wrappers. I feel like we're just getting ready for that shift to happen. It's happening already. So that's the value, I think, of the R&D that we're doing as well.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, I love what you're doing. I know I'm going to see more of you because I already know some people you're working with, and we get to see a lot of each other. But there's
Who's that?
I know. But the experience that you have so far is great, and I appreciate you kind of just pulling back the veil a little bit. I really want to encourage people to start thinking about this as an entrepreneurial problem, not a technological problem. Because where you can go, what's possible is the way you frame it in your own mind, and then you frame it to your customers or clients as a service that you can provide or output that you can provide. And there's no reason to compromise now. We haven't even invented something yet to compromise it too soon. So we want people to understand it and build into it. And you're doing amazing work. It's really great to see what you guys are doing already. So congratulations to you and Dennis and Veronica for all what you guys are doing.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. And Hung, I'm gonna make Vasil give us a workshop one of these days. So I'm gonna.
Well,
Yeah,
it's not gonna
totally.
be me personally. It's gonna be Dennis.
Okay, get Dennis. Yes, yeah.
Just a basic walkthrough. Help a brother out. And
Yeah, help
everything
a brother
else.
I might be able to call in a favor or something. I don't know if I have one on Vasil, but he shipped me to Ukraine once to do a shoot for a job, so maybe he owes me from that one.
It is interesting though when you think about like how our artists are going to transform a bit into technologists as well, over time. Because like most people just like, I would say a good majority of the people I've been kind of talking to are just like deathly afraid of comfy. There's just like the fear of plopping in and figuring it out. And it's super interesting because it's like, I think we're dealing with people that like went to design school because they wanted to be designers. And then they found motion design and they were like, okay, like that's a bit technical, but it is going to have to like kind of unlock another level of artist over time that is just different, Yeah, because I'm thinking like, well, who in my studio would I even task that with? Like,
But Aaron, don't you think like a couple of years from now that barrier would be removed as well? To me, it will if it gets, if AI keeps progressing, it could be a point where the artist doesn't need to be a technologist, right? It could be this
it'll be
simple.
integrated into the software, but I'm talking more bleeding edge. You know what I mean? Like the space where we're at right now, which is like early web days, really, where it just takes somebody not just driving a car really well, but like opening up the hood and figuring out how things are working to get different results. And that is a it's more like a Houdini artist, those guys really get under the hood there. And yeah.
I do feel like you're right. There is we'll say a skill level that has been developed over the years that the full sales of the world have been outputting people that could do something, accomplish something. And it was obvious and needed as digital content was being created. We needed more people that can make more animations, do more work, what have you. But I do think that some of that workforce is going to be challenged. And it's not just like, are you technically capable of using Photoshop, but are you actually a creative person that understands conceptually, regardless, because you have to program these models. I'm going to try to use the right words, these models, and make the output, on brand, or even develop a brand that could work with this kind of technology is a harder challenge.
Yeah. It's also just, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we get results so fast now. Like back when we all started, right? Like in the early knots, in the early zeros, it was hard to get anything that looked good, right? So you were used to like really banging on the software and trying random plugins. It was a lot more trial and error than it is now. I feel like things tend to come together pretty quickly with the team, and you see more immediate results. And I just think with this stuff, the results aren't immediate. It takes a lot more tenacity and like trial and error, and like basically all error until it's like right. Am I wrong in saying that? Like it's just like wrong, 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 wrong. Whoa, like I unlocked something. And so in a culture of like instant or progressive evolution of seeing something get better and better instead of just being wrong, 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 right. I think it's a different, I don't know. I feel like there's a different connection to the process,
There's almost like a Maslow's hierarchy, right?
I don't know.
Things were so satisfied that are you willing to go back to just the core need? But
right.
to keep fighting for the answers. Yeah, that's
So maybe to answer your question of who you could get to in your studio to use Comfy, Dennis, maybe you can tell some of the chats that you're on, the Comfy chats and where they are, and maybe share that information because that is really what gets us excited is like, wow, these are Comfy UI artists, fellow explorers
Right.
plugging in newest tech together, and then maybe sharing that with your team and say, hey guys, go on Discord, go in this
Oh, that's
chat,
yeah.
and be like, look at all this stuff that's happening, and then pick up some of the things that are they're doing and say, oh, we have an idea now. This client has this problem. These two models came out. Let's string them together and package it and see if we can make it work for
Yeah.
this particular issue. So you have any chats, Dennis? I'm trying to get him to talk.
Might have to go on mute because this will be too.
I can confirm Dennis does speak. I have seen it happen.
Can I ask one quick question just on thing? Because like I just came back from I was away at Camp Mulgrave in Virginia Beach, and I was just doing a little like social thing of like who's using UI or not UI AI. My brain is fried from getting back there. But yeah, just like it seems to me like just for Vasil as well, is just like how you deal with like the pitchforks in a way in terms of like because for me, we're talking to a few people, I felt like AI is like Frankenstein, and there's a lot of people after it right now, and they're like, no, we're not going to do that. But then it's like, AI is like, it's coming, like it's going to be here, and there's a lot of fear of people using it, and I was just like, not using it, like we're using it for like motion capture stuff, and Hong just mentioned Quick Magic. We use a lot of for motion capture. And I remember mentioning it to a few people, and they were like, "You're taking the job away," and all this stuff. And I was like, "Well, we're just trying to keep up with with this." But it was just like there was a lot of fear around it, and I was surprised because you know it's helping us do things quicker, which I love because budgets are getting smaller, things need to be done quicker. But yeah, how do you feel? How do you deal with like that like fear factor from other people?
So fear is great. I think that's what, as a studio, we're super afraid and we're super excited. That's why we started getting into this space. It should motivate you, right? Like if it's gonna take your job, then you better learn it. The other one that I don't appreciate, and I feel like it's really then misguided, is anger. I see a lot of like people getting angry about it. Like it's sorry, it's out of the bag, right? It's there. You might as well either learn it or not learn it, but to
Yeah,
be angry about it, you're not doing anybody a favor, especially yourself. Like, and I love that Erin was when we met together at
Yeah.
Mexico. She's like, "Yeah, this is awesome. Let's see what you got." Other people were like, ew,
yeah,
ew." So it's
exactly.
like embrace it. Why?
Yeah, that's exactly like the kind of how would you say? Because it came about like someone was talking about AI, and I asked the question. I was like, "Hey, like we're using it for this task, and yes, it takes away some jobs from people doing character animation in traditionally in 3D, but we have to do it, to keep up with people and stuff. But the thing is, like after that, um." I was walking around and stuff, and you get a few people coming over to you, and they're like, "I can't believe you're doing that," and I'm like, "What?" And like, this is like people are like, "No, like I'm not working and all this stuff," and like you're the problem, and I was like, "I'm the problem? I don't think there's a bigger. I think there's a
Uh,
bigger situation." By the way, yeah, I know that's a bigger
yeah.
You're
conversation,
the
but I
problem.
just, you know,
I mean,
Crazy.
what can we
How do you
say? It's
answer that?
coming.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing. Like, I just say, like, historically, technology has evolved, and
yeah,
like the computer took a lot of jobs away and evolved. It didn't take jobs away completely. It evolved industries, and we're fortunate enough to be native on the computer. If we're not willing to evolve on the tool we already use and know, then like what am I supposed to say about that? That's just, it's not like
yeah,
we're moving off the computer into like a whole other thing. I mean, think about, original animators that moved from paper and pen and ink to then have to go into Pixar with their rudimentary fucking software that if you weren't like a coder, like think about being that person. Now think about being a motion designer starting to use AI tools. That's a much smaller leap to make. I think that's written,
I'm also hoping the ask is going to be even more fantastical than what it is right now, right? Nobody in the 20s when they're drawing with a pencil thought that'd be people looking at a phone of animations in 3D, right? And they're everywhere. Every 5 seconds, you're seeing an animation. So potentially, maybe there's going to be worlds built with AI for new experiences that people are craving that we haven't seen yet. So our hope is that that's what's going to happen and drive even more jobs, even more creative.
I agree with that.
Somebody that's solving how to render correctly a 3D car and everything's breaking is maybe not the best time of their use of their time anyway. Maybe it's about creating a world for this kid that wants to explore and build their moat. So the ask is going to be even more interesting in the coming years potentially, and the creative is going to be even greater. So that's where I'm hopeful for.
Also, artists want them. I mean, we see just like the artists just asking like or finding new ways to use it, whether you want them to do it or not. We even use it in a collage animation because in the past with collage animation, you find a photo and you're stuck with that photo. And now you can actually have a photo turn, look, do whatever you want, in a collage style using AI. Like, why wouldn't artists want to use that?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I think it's just being adaptable, it sounds, in terms of like, that's like even me and my career coming from different, like I didn't start using a computer until I was 19, but like now it's like, just only 15 years ago, but like basically had to keep adaptable, keep working, and even as a company, just keep like we just adapt to what we need to do, we'll do the work. It doesn't really matter what tools you use, but like I just when it's seeing other, just I don't want to talk shit about it and sort of swearing, but like just seeing it like with a bunch of 300, like 200 motion designers around and not seeing people adapt just kind of worries me for them and not for, I don't know who's going to be catching up, but it just mind boggled me with people saying, just a bit fearful about AI pretty much.
Yeah. Well, fear is good. Again, I think it's the anger that's the issue. Hopefully, eventually people will realize that it's about attention at the end of the day, right? Like, how are you getting attention for your client? They don't care if it was a 3D renderer or AI. If they got the views and they got attention to their cause or their idea, their product, you've succeeded. So that's in the end of the day is our job, is how do we bring that attention to the client that they're asking for? How do you solve that problem?
Yeah, solving problems. Yeah, sure.
I think it's a worldview problem. I think that if you are looking at too narrow of a scope, whatever is passing through seems to go by really fast. And if you don't understand it, you could basically look like it was here and then it's gone. So if some people are looking at their career through that narrow scope and they saw their career and the career disappeared. But if you pull back, you can just realize that no, your career basically just is on nitro. It's moving faster than it's ever moved before, and you just can't keep up with it. So you're not seeing it in your scope, but it's there. It's just, why would you waste any time building a 3D model if I could AI capture it? Then freaking go make a zillion AI models and go just doing amazing with it, opposed to sit there and make one per day or something. That's just a worldview issue. So I do think there's going to be just some people left behind. I feel a little bad, but that seems to be the way the world works always. This isn't the first time ever. And then others who are going to grab a hold of something, no matter what it is, and see if they can ride it. So, and Vasil, I think that's your encouragement for us today. Is like, grab something and hold on to it. Just start learning.
Ride the wave.
Be the learning
What
side.
can you do?
Yeah.
You have to just keep going with it. Yeah, be useful.
And there will be ups and downs, but whatever,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a shitty thing to say, but
probably.
It's a shitty thing to say already.
Say it up front.
I'm gonna love this one out there. But it feels like the industry like exploded as all the devices and all the things happened, and there became like kind of a surplus of talent, right? And now it's contracting. And so it does seem like an appropriate time for a disruptive technology like this to help kind of cull like part of the industry, So It's a weird thing to say out loud and probably
No,
as a business owner,
Delete
like,
this part.
yeah,
But I think, Aaron, I think people got in. Some people jumped into
Yeah.
a career because it seemed like the easiest
easy,
thing they could do to make a
right,
lot of money. And we're
right.
saying, sorry, it's just not going to be easy anymore, but it is going to be
Yeah.
creative. If you're not a creative
Yeah.
person, sorry. If you just want to press buttons for a living, this is not how you go play video games for a living or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like this is not me talking shit because, like, you know, I don't care if I don't get called back to Camp Mulgrave. Yeah, just seeing people to say, yo, how are you? How is your year been or whatever? Like, oh, I haven't worked in 6 months, and I'm
That's
like,
yeah.
that's hard, and I'm like, that's really hard. And I asked like why, and just being right, try to be as, you know, nice as I can be, and like sit down and go why, almost like a therapist at the time, but like it's, you know, you kind of like need to do what you need to do to work and like survive, and like we all need to do that, you know, to work. But I see like someone, she's like, oh, I'm working on my podcast that has like 10 views, and then I was like, well, you should be learning new software if you want to be a motion designer and keep up with the times, because things are changing, and if you don't change and adapt and evolve into this new type of motion designer that you guys were just mentioning, if you don't evolve into that new type of motion designer, I don't think, to be honest, personally, I don't think there's going to be that much work left. So it's just like, you know, I don't know. It's just hearing the stories of some people that I sat down with, and I was just like,
Yeah.
and I gave them advice. I was like, your mindset just needs to shift of, you know, see what can make you that hybrid person that, you know, people want to bring you back. And just it just made me like very concerned in the industry right now, or like there's not that many people doing it, and it just, you know, the percentage was kind of, and I wrote it down in the book. I was like, that's a big percentage of like who isn't doing this. And yeah, it just makes me a bit, you know, mind boggling my brain pretty much.
Yeah.
You guys are calling the
Well,
people out today. This is the
I
way
don't know. Is this being published? I take it back. I take it all back.
Take
I
off the
take
tail end.
Yeah, just pop
Take
it.
off.
Like,
I'll
I don't know.
I'll do it for you for free, as I
Well,
promise. You can.
I don't want to end it on a sad note. I still think there's a lot of possibilities that are going forward,
it's
and
huge.
there's still going to be 3D. There's still going to be motion
totally.
design, typography, animations that need to combine all this stuff together. My hope is that maybe the CEOs are like, let's cut everything. AI is going to solve everything. You know, it's not going to solve everything. And then hopefully they'll figure out, no, you still need an experienced motion designer to put together that real, even though it 50% of might be generated from VO3, you still need you know, typography, you need a good brand. So my hope is that things will pick up, and it's not so doom and gloom. It's just another integration, yeah, of all the tools. And also the quality of the content should be way better. You know, like we can hopefully we'll get amazing movies coming with amazing creative and new experiences that we haven't seen yet as well.
Yeah.
We already are. Haven't you seen Aaron's latest post with the Mr. Clean and Quaker Man and Mr. Pringles and all that stuff? They're already making amazing content.
There you go. Yeah, that's an experience. I feel like potentially that, you know, creating little personal experiences with AI is another whole market that could be explored. Or like I keep on thinking of like sports teams just putting people in their uniform on the site. You know, that's another one. Like everybody should have that, you know, like
Yeah.
there's so many ideas. So many, yeah. Yeah.
Or into games.
Games, yeah, like should still be, yeah. It's just maybe people are not thinking creatively enough of how to use it to get new experiences out there.
I really love what you said about, like, we haven't even thought about how big it can be, because just think of how, like, once CGI started, like how exploded how there just wasn't enough manpower for it. Like, perhaps the thinking does get so big that we do see an industry expansion as a result of it,
Yes.
because the possibilities are just so much vaster. Like, I've never really thought about it like that. I've only really thought about it as a contraction and not an expansion. But you're right. Like, when something is boundless, you still need, you know, people to
Yeah, there's
do
a
it.
really good, sorry, there's a really good book called The Experience Economy. I read it years ago. I think maybe Tim, you recommended it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it talks about like how we were first in I think the commodity economy, and then it became the service economy. So people would pay top dollar for commodities, for pepper, for sugar. Then it was the service that would get top dollar, and eventually we're going to get into experience economy that service and goods are just there and they're cheap and plentiful. People will pay for the experience. So maybe that is where the value is going to come in, and AI is going to give us the most incredible experiences, and hopefully we'll be a part of creating those experiences with AI, and could be a
Or
whole
it'll be an
new.
evolution at post experience. I almost feel like the social media world has promoted the experiential economy already with all the people
Yeah,
flying all over the world or doing something. I think AI is going to evolve it into another type of
sure,
experience. But
sure.
again, we won't even know what to call it. We have to kind of get into whatever
Yeah.
that future native element is, and then we'll recognize how unique it is and amazing it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And last note, Tim, do you remember where the experience economy book ends with? It ends with modification economy. People modify themselves and they'll pay top dollar for that. So maybe AI will help us with that as well.
I think we're already there too. That's what half of the Learning Channel television shows are about, I think.
But isn't that like, in all seriousness, what like in gaming, like people are paying for like all
Yes,
that?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
it's
metaverse had that same kind of conversation around it. Obviously,
Yeah,
plastic
yeah.
surgery, which is becoming the Kardashians made normal, that's modifying.
I mean, they
as
look amazing.
they did a pretty good job.
It's all AI, don't worry.
It might be.
They
It's
definitely have
like,
some good surgeons. I'm not saying that.
have you seen Lindsay Lohan? Come
Not
on.
personally.
No, well,
Kate.
Okay.
it's like,
Um,
whew,
yeah,
history has been rewritten.
Some
maybe.
people have not got the right people. Oh, Seamus too. We got the whole family over there,
Hey,
Ollie.
hey.
Yeah, we're having dinner. We're just eating up keyframes. It's great, isn't
Oh,
it?
so
Yeah.
Does
It's like
Seamus still
Brady.
have a credit card?
Oh, yeah. Did you give me my credit card? Oh, you went to the club with it. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Kill Thompson.
yeah,
Stop.
thanks. All right, guys. It's great to see you all. Vasil, thanks for
Yeah.
keeping this conversation going and making that real for us.
Yeah, thank you guys. Maybe one day we'll have a talk, maybe pitch some AI products. I would love to see that kind of conversation of just brainstorm what could be done, what could be done. What can a motion graphics company provide to the world as an AI product, potentially.
Yeah, that'd be
So,
cool. I've been thinking about like doing an AI festival, just spending 5 days in October, one after the other, and just having
Oh my God.
total
I hope you don't get a
compacted
terrorist
fun.
detective.
Yeah,
No, I feel
damn.
like it's
Then you
like
better get
I
good
feel like we have to
security.
cram it all in. Like stretching it out week after week is not catch. I have so many more questions, so I need like 5 straight days of it. Get my
Better have a back door. Like I'm gonna enter with hat and makeup or whatever on. I'm not gonna show up there
Good.
get
yeah.
killed.
Well, I'll have like actually Aaron can just make us all like some PFPs so we can all have like our script characters being
love
us instead
that.
of for real.
I would love everybody to have their scrimp avatar in Zoom.
Yeah. If you can get to work on my iPhone, I'd turn on right now. Just like the
I'll
dinosaur.
add it to my list. Cool. It's lovely to see everybody.
Yeah, you guys. We'll see you guys later. See you next week.
Thank you
Thanks,
guys.
Vasil.
See you
Thank
guys
you.
next day.
Okay.
Of course,
Bye-bye.
later, guys.
Bye.